What is your name?
Rick Bell.
What branch of service were you in?
I was in the United States Army Reserves and got called to active duty as part of the U.S. Army
Oh.
for the Persian Gulf War.
What were your dates of service?
I believe 1987 to 1993 or maybe 94. I have to double check on that.
Okay. You said, were you drafted or enlisted?
I enlisted. I joined the Army Reserve.
Okay, and then why did you join?
Money for college, and there was a medical unit in Grand Island. And at the time when I first started college, I was going into the medical field. I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Wow, I didn't know that. Why did you pick the service branch that you joined?
Because that's partly because of the medical field. Yeah.
How old would you have been?
20.
Wow. Do you recall your first days in service?
Never forget basic training. I will never forget it. Yes, I do remember basic training.
Tell me about your boot camp / training experiences.
It was scary. Not so much as like you were, something was going to happen to you then, but it was a tremendous amount of physical and mental, maybe torment to begin with, I guess, would be a key word for it. Pushed me harder than I've ever been pushed in my life.
Had you been away from your family prior to going to basic?
Well, I was in college, so I was away
yeah.
from my family then. So, but other than that, no.
Wow. How did you get through it?
I was actually in pretty good shape going in, so that helped me. I was able to kind of look around and realize that there was other people that were a lot worse off than I was. So, I just knew that it was going to be 8 weeks, and I could get through it, and I could do it.
What type of work did you perform while you were in the service?
I was a medic, which is basically like an EMT. I also went to school for an NBC specialist, which is nuclear biological chemical specialist.
Wow.
And our unit needed basically an assistant to help in that area, and that was one area that if I decided to stay in, I knew I could take that path and keep going up and maybe make a career out of it.
Wow. Did you request your specific job?
For the NBC part of it, I did. For the medic part, when I joined, I just kind of first looked at what I was going into. I was thinking pre-physical therapy, so I kind of chose to be in the medical side of it.
Before entering the military, did you have any specialized skills or training that helped you get your job?
No.
None? What did they teach you in the service?
Well, the medical training was, like I said, it's very similar to like an EMT training. We learned to give shots, we learned to draw blood, start IVs, first response type medical needs.
Where did you serve?
The reserves was in Grand Island, and we were a detachment. The main unit was out of Omaha, and there was a detachment in Lincoln and Grand Island. So my drills that I went to, like once a month, I would go to Grand Island. And then when I was attached, I got called to active duty during the Persian Gulf War. I was attached to a field hospital out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Only we didn't go to Fort Sill. We went to the Persian Gulf. I went to the Persian Gulf as a filler for their unit.
Wow, that's really interesting. Tell me about military life during those times. Like, how was
the food? The food was, it was actually pretty decent. When you were on a base someplace, I thought the food was pretty decent. But it seemed like we ate a lot of chicken. And to this day, I'm not and I'll eat chicken, but I'm not a huge fan of chicken.
Do you think that killed it, kind of?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
How were the rules?
Very strict. I think they were fair, but I mean, when you were told to be somewhere, do something, you were expected to do it.
What were the hours like?
That just kind of depended. Basic training, the hours were whenever they wanted to really wear you down and tear you up. They they would keep you up later, they'd get you up really early. You know, once I got attached during the Persian Gulf, you know, our hours were, you know, I think we were on shifts of about 8 or 10 hours, and then we were off.
What did you do with your free time when you were off?
Just kind of hung out with a couple buddies, played a lot of cards. You know, we worked out a little bit, slept.
What kinds of uniforms were issued to you?
I have a dress uniform, and then I had the green camo, just the normal military camo that we see, and then also for the Persian Gulf, I was issued desert camouflage.
Wow.
There's my hat, and I wear that fishing quite often. And I've had a lot of people ask me for that hat, and I was like, no, that hat's been all over the place. And there's one of our desert camo uniforms that we had. That one still has my good stuff on it from when I was in. And then this is my dress.
It's all changed so much.
Yeah, and then
Holy cow.
yeah, as you can see, it's getting a little yellowed and old, and there's our comfort and aid for the medical part of it, and they're not real good.
These are so interesting.
Yeah, and then this one's just a National Defense Service bar that I probably should put on there, but I have not. And that's just something that I picked up when we came back.
Wow.
We actually flew into Bangor, Maine, and these people did not know who we were, but they all showed up at the airport and just threw us a big party coming back. So it was kind of neat, and they were handing those out. And then there's just some different things that I received and different medals.
Wow.
And this is the United States Army Reserve for Achievement Medal. We got one of those. Everybody's in Army Reserve that was called. Got one of those. And then from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we've got a couple medals here.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm not even going to take them out. But that's the Southwest Asia Service Medal. If you want to look at that, and there's another one there.
Wow.
So.
I've never seen any like this.
And I know I should have those on my uniform. It's one of those things where when I came back, I pretty much kind of decided after I got back that I wasn't going to be in much longer. Because my time was actually, my 6 years was actually about up at that time, so.
Whoa. That's fun. Very cool. Okay. What dwellings were provided?
When we were in the Persian Gulf, we actually, it was an apartment style type. We were in a city. We were a hospital that was tents, but they were set up on slabs of concrete. So it was almost like a fixed hospital of tents. We had air conditioning, heating, things like that. And we were it was kind of like an overflow hospital. It was one of those things where they were prepared for, okay, if this happens, or this happens, we're going to be sending people to you.
Guys, wow.
Which we were lucky that didn't happen. So.
What was the weather like?
You know, at times it was really nice, and then other times it got a little warm. I was there January, February, and the first part of March. And when I was leaving, it was starting to get a little bit warmer. But, you know, at first it was decent.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So you obviously served during the war. How did you travel to the war zone, and tell me about your experience in that?
We actually flew on, it wasn't a military plane, it was a commercial plane, but it was all military personnel flying on that plane. We landed in Saudi Arabia, and then we actually rode on in vehicles to Bahrain. I was actually stationed in Bahrain.
Was this your first experience in a foreign country, and what was your first impression of that?
It was my first experience, and the city I was in Manama, Bahrain, and it's one of the nicer places supposedly in the world. But it was very, very different when you drive along the street and you see people standing with automatic weapons guarding buildings. It was very different.
Culture shock, I'm sure.
Yes.
Where were you stationed, you said?
In Manama, Bahrain.
What was your unit name?
Okay, the unit name was the 47th Field Hospital. And that was out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Wow. When did your tour begin?
I got called to active duty. I had to leave on December 26th.
That's
and,
a good Christmas, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, it was a tough Christmas. It was a tough Christmas.
How big was your unit? And explain how it was.
You know, I'm not sure how big it was. I came in, they had already been there. So I came in and I was a filler for that. I don't know how many hundreds of people were in this unit. It was a large unit.
Wow. What was the food like?
A lot of chicken.
Yeah.
A lot of chicken. Yeah, it was decent, but like I said, we ate chicken a lot.
Tell me about your job duties.
Okay, I was a medic, so what we did, and since we didn't really have any casualties, and when I got there, we were preparing for something to happen. So it was basically hospital setup, maintenance kind of things. We did training on one another, you know, starting to, just took blood and you know, some of those things, just preparing for something bad to happen, yeah.
Wow. How far were you from front lines?
We were a long ways away. We were kind of in the back. We were a support group, so didn't see any combat.
Yeah. Did you ever see or hear the enemy? And tell me about that experience.
No. The first day that I arrived there, I arrived with about 4 or 5 other people that I met up with that were being attached from other units from around the country, basically. And when we arrived there, we were there for about an hour, and then the chemical warning system went off because they thought they detected some type of chemical warfare. Wow. So we had to put our gear on for nuclear, biological, chemical, and wait for about an hour in that, and I was wondering what I got myself into. But it happened to be just a false alarm.
That's good. What did you live in, you said?
We lived in, they're like an apartment style type thing, away from the hospital, so we'd have to take a bus to get to the hospital and a bus to get back home. And there was 2 different places. Some were in like a high-rise apartment complex, and some people were in, it was kind of like a villa type setting or condo type setting, where maybe there was 2 bedrooms and there was about 6 to 8 of you in there. So a couple of people got the beds that were there, and those of us that were newer, we slept on a cot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But we were indoors. I mean,
so that's what matters.
So it wasn't like we were out in the desert in a tent or anything. Yeah, we were indoors, so that was okay.
Tell me about your best friends.
Probably Mark from Omaha, and I actually knew him a little bit before because he was actually in the Omaha unit. So I had met him before. So we got to become, fairly close friends. And then there's a young man from Alabama that was a lot of fun and just a different kind of guy. And we all kind of had the same interests. We all like to hunt and fish. So I think we kind of just talked a lot about those things.
Are you still friends with them today?
I talk to Mark every once in a while. Todd I have not talked to for many years.
That's fun. What was your most frightening experience?
Probably that first day when the alarms went off and we
scary.
had to take cover and get mob gear. That was most exciting.
Wow. Did you ever lose anyone that you knew?
No.
Skip that one. What was your most interesting experience?
Probably we had some time where we could go out in the evenings. One time when we went and we went and looked at the city, and they said it's kind of like the Las Vegas of the Middle East because it's kind of a richer type area. And I saw so much gold and silver and things at these different shops that it was really amazing.
Wow.
And then actually the next day they came out and said that we were not to be in those areas anymore because there was some things going on there that people were looking to harm the U.S. military. So, and we were actually there the night before, which we,
Oh my
you know, we were okay going there the
Yeah.
night before, but,
Wow.
yeah, so that was a little interesting.
Wow. What was your most exhausting experience?
Probably going there, just, you know, the plane ride going there, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah. What was the most exciting thing?
Coming home, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Once we found out that we were gonna pack up and leave,
Yeah.
it was exciting.
How did you travel home from the war zone?
We flew like a
That's
commercial
the
plane
same.
again, yep.
Was there any kind of homecoming? Was anyone waiting for you?
Yeah, we actually flew into Bangor, Maine, when we first arrived, and we kind of had a little layover there. And there, the people there, and I don't know who they were or what, but the airport was full. And they, you know, they're playing music, and they were handing out drink sodas and adult drinks,
Oh.
you know, for us. And, you know, there was little kids, there was adults, elderly people, so it was interesting.
Was anyone from your family there?
Not there, no.
Mhm.
And then when I actually came home, my wife was there, my
Oh.
mom and dad, my sister.
Yeah. How was being married during that time? Like,
That was a struggle. We had been married for about 6 months is all.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
that Christmas was pretty tough.
Yeah.
In fact, it was really tough.
Did you guys write to each other?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Did you keep any of your letters? Did your
I
wife keep
don't,
any of them?
I don't know if she did or not. I don't have any of those, no.
What do you think people today should know about what you went through, and what do we need to remember about your war?
You know, I think things that I remember that I want people to understand is in the military, you learn to work with so many different types of people. I was a small-town Nebraska kid,
Yes.
and you know, I'm hanging out with people from New York, from Alabama, South Carolina, just a different. They see things a little bit differently sometimes,
Yeah.
and it was good for me to do that.
How did you get promoted?
Well, I really didn't get promoted too much. As a medic, the highest level that I could get would be a specialist, which would be an E4. And with my college education, I went in as an E3. So basically, I had one promotion.
Oh, yeah.
And that was after doing a certain number of things. They said, okay, we had a review and
Gotcha.
promoted. I did the NBC, the nuclear biological chemical classes, so I could continue on, which I decided once I got back, okay, I've had enough of this, so.
What were those classes like?
Those were good because there was a lot of math involved.
Oh,
It was,
and obviously
and that was something I was really good at, you know,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of math, yeah.
Wow. You said you wrote to your wife. Did you write to your parents or to anyone else?
I did, and, you know, and every once in a while I was able to use the phone,
Mhm.
and I could call. Wrote to a few students from an elementary school from my hometown that sent me some stuff, so I did that.
Tell me about your commanding officers.
They were fair. You know, it was a lot different than when, you know, your basic training, you're scared to death of them, but
Yeah.
once I was attached to the hospital and was around them a little bit, and I wasn't around them a lot, but, you know, they're good people, yeah.
How did people entertain themselves? Is there anything other than playing cards and stuff?
Basketball, I mean, there was basketball courts, tennis courts, you know, in the city, you know, right where we were stationed, so we would do that. The Game Boy was popular. My great uncle actually sent me a Game Boy and a bunch of batteries, so I was pretty good at Tetris. In fact, I was really good at Tetris.
What did you do when you were on leave?
Well, I didn't really have leave there. We once we found out that things were over, we were allowed to go to a ship. It was like a cruise ship type thing, and it was actually docked in the harbor, so it didn't go out on the water. But we got to go there for one. You know, we'd stay one day and then one night.
Oh, that's fun. What did you do in the days and weekends afterward?
You know, when I first got back from from the war, I was no longer on active duty, but I was still in the reserves. But when I first got back, like I said, my wife and I had just been married about 6 months, so we actually stayed in Lincoln. We were living in Lincoln at the time, stayed in Lincoln for a little while, and then went to her family, saw her family, and then we took off and went to Colorado for about 5 days, and just to be together, just her and I together, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah. Then when did you go back to school to get your teaching?
I actually went to work at that time. It was kind of in between, because I got back in March, end of March, so I really couldn't start anything, and so I went to work, and I worked for a roofing company at that time, and then I eventually went back to school once school started again.
Wow. Was your education supported by the GI Bill?
Yes.
It was. Did you take any college classes while you were in the service?
Yeah, I was actually in college when I joined the reserves, so.
That's nice,
yeah.
Did you join a veterans organization?
I'm a member, but I'm really not an active member here. And when I lived in Fairbury, when I taught there, I was a member of the VFW there, so.
That's nice. What did you go on to do as a career after the war? Obviously, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
You know, I think the military is a great opportunity for people. You know, however, as I have my own children now, part of me is always afraid that they're going to come and say, you know, I'm joining the military. And not that I don't think it would be good for them, because it would be good for them, but just that fact of maybe not coming home, that's scary. And I know my father, when I told him I signed up to be in the Army Reserves, he was not happy. I was the first one in my family, or my mom's family, his family or my mom's family, to join the service.